domesticated about 12,000 years ago in India, indica rice. About a century back, India was recorded to have more than 110,000 varieties of rice alone in India, were documented until 1970 by Dr. Richaria and some other scientists. 90% of all this huge genetic wealth were lost because of the onset of the Green Revolution, which focused on the development and appropriation of these genetic materials for what we now call as the agricultural development. So that actually induced many of those things which are largely known to everyone. But the result of this is that today we have less than 4,000 varieties left all over the subcontinent. That includes India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal and Sri Lanka. That's the estimate. Even if we consider it's double the amount in the number, say 8,000 varieties still left, which is a massive erosion of genetic diversity. We can say a genocide of these Japlas. And this I consider to be the beginning of the agrarian crisis of the Indian subcontinent, because until that there was absolutely no record in the entire history of agriculture in India of farmers committing suicide in mass. Despite all these different episodes of famine and all this, there was no record of farmer suicide en masse because of this agrarian problem. We have different kinds of characters. The visual characters only color and size and shape of the grains and the dehulled or the decorticated grains. But each of these, for example, this black rice is very rich in antioxidant properties. Another white rice, in the middle is very rich in iron and zinc. There's another rice which has a very high content of silver, which we discovered accidentally only this year. And we published that report, and which is distributed to all of you. Then we have drought-tolerant varieties, flood-tolerant varieties, salinity-tolerant varieties. In short, the properties which are the targets of transgenics research and business. Monsanto and Syngenta and Cargill and all the other multinationals are actually hankering after those genes, which Dr. M.S. Swaminathan has termed gene mining. And this gene mining is, afoot only over this past decade. This decade is simply because we have actually lost hundreds of thousands of varieties which were actually surviving on all the farmers' lands. And in the name of this development and progress, we have lost all of them, and now we have to search for this, just the way we are searching for alternatives, which were actually used to be the mainstream all over the country. Now we have to search. The folk crop variety is lost, and the soil erosion, salinization of soil, which is all common knowledge, and even in the heartland of the Green Revolution, the Punjab, everyone knows what's happening there. And of course, the other aspects, not only the agrarian aspect and the economic aspects, but also the seed sovereignty loss and the loss of the food cultures in all local places. These are the primary and secondary consequences of the so-called Green Revolution. The point is that despite the brouhaha of the Green Revolution and the agricultural development and technological innovation and the economic support system put forth by the governments, all the governments, both state and the center, despite all this, and despite the 60 years of rice genetics research all over the world, scientists have not been able to produce a single high-yield modern variety which is capable of growing A on uplands, B on rain-fed lowland, that is dry land, and lowland means also seasonally inundated, seasonally flooded lands, including flash floods, and C coastal salinated areas like the Sundarbans or the Karnataka coast and Tamil Nadu coast and all of these. And as a result, whether it was the tsunami in Tamil Nadu or Ayla storm in the Sundarbans of Bengal and Bangladesh, there was no modern variety, whether hybrid or high-yielding variety or transgenic rice, which was capable of growing on a single plot there. So, but on all these counts, the dryland adapted rice varieties, lowland or flood tolerant rice varieties, salinity tolerant rice varieties were all available in the traditional gene pool of the crop, traditional crop varieties. In fact, all of these characters, whether it's the yield, nutritional properties like vitamin-rich rice or protein-rich rice or iron-fortified rice, pest resistance, disease resistance, and salinity tolerance, drought tolerance, flood tolerance, everything was already and is still surviving or available in the traditional land races which are still extant today.
I am going to present the approach and methodology which we have followed for this conservation and revival, not only for just conservation but for food security, nutritional security and livelihood of these communities. Normally in these areas what happening, though we are seeing the tribal areas rich in agrobiodiversity, but monocropping and monovarietal cropping is promoted on large scale. Second thing, introduction of unconventional crop, which crops require more water and these agriculture inputs. Then introduction of non-food crops also on large scale. Then as per my understanding and the work which we are doing with the tribal communities and the wisdom associated with this knowledge, agriculture is not the growing crops but it is a cropping system. But modern system is thinking agriculture as a growing single crop, getting good yield, better yield, like that. Third thing, wild food resources are not considered as a food, but it is a major part of food and livelihood of these tribal communities. Then fourth point, the research on dryland agriculture crops is much lesser, as just Deval sir discussed. Genetic diversity is a key element in livelihood strategy and from food and nutritional security. Seed is the soul of agriculture, but now it is not in the hand of communities. It has been taken by industries, these multinationals, and now it's a commercial resource. And there are a problem associated with climate change, as there is very high rainfall, sometimes there uneven distribution of rainfall, sometimes only moisture in the field, and there are not such resources exist or developed by scientific communities to cope up with this. But the answer exists in these tribal wisdom, people's wisdom. So there is need to conserve, revive this diversity along with the scientific approach and taking into consideration people's knowledge and wisdom.
I would like to bring the political questions into the which the conference talks about is agrarian question and small scale farming. I would rather call it community initiatives or collective farming, which is coming in a very prominent ways in the rural backgrounds, and especially in the tribal areas, which the agrarian questions in our country, the political economy questions, and who controls it, whether the state or the people, and people have lost control over the resources. And to cite one example, the forest department is still today is the biggest landlord of this country. And how the forest department becomes the biggest landlord, that needs to be questioned, but we don't question that. And now in the garb of that, the corporates are seeking more and more land from these forest areas, which is in the hands of forest department. They hold 23% of our land mass, and the forest is only on 9%, and that too the dense forest has come to a 4% over total cover. So what is the land which is in the forest department, what they are doing? They are all encroached by the upper caste people or the rich peasantry, or by now the companies are coming in a very big way. So these are the questions which needs to be addressed. And what are the solutions? We are saying what are the solutions to neoliberal practices? And we are going more and more into privatization of the land, and that to a specific agriculture land, which is only a one component of whole of the agrarian question. There is a big mass of the forest land, there is a big area of the water resources, and together that if we take all that together, we need to address this political question: who owns it? And the people of our country who are landless, I think the issue of the landless is very important, which Ashokda was also saying, and the issue of agriculture workers and especially women, and who are contributing almost 95 or more than that their labor into the agriculture work, or in the forestry, or in the water and resources. So they are the major workforce, and they are not counted, they are not talked about. Their ownership is not talked about. They are not given the status of a peasant or a farmer, despite the fact that she is the one who really sows. If machines are still not successful in sowing the rice. So the issue of gender, the issue of women is very important in agrarian question. Without that, it's impossible to solve these neoliberal practices. Today, the women from the disadvantaged section, from the agriculture workers, from the landless sections are the real revolutionary force who can attack and challenge the state's anti-people policy. And they are doing it in many areas. And I have friends with me from the Kamur region of Uttar Pradesh. They are doing collective farming. They have taken over lands from the state, and we have a very revolutionary act, in a way. Revolutionary, still a lot to be done in Forest Rights Act of 2006, and that talks about the community rights of the people, community ownership of resources. The land records does not have a section that records the community rights. That's a big kind of a gap. And women question is definitely not addressed in any revenue laws. They are all male dominated, promulgate the interest of the agriculture, which is agriculture, or they can never, which should only be livelihood, and it cannot be property. So I feel this whole contradiction, the issue of the landlordism and the issue of landlessness, that needs to be addressed. If the lands are unviable for the rich or the upper or the bigger peasant, that they should abandon the land, and the land should be distributed to the landless people, especially women, and they should be distributed in a commune way. And the other issue that I want to bring is that the moment we combine the agrarian issue with a profit making and a mechanized kind of a system, it is bound to get failed. And it will definitely result into the farmer suicides that we are seeing. We need to keep women at the center place. This is my strong view. If women are not identified with the natural resources or the production systems, we are going to, the earth is not going to survive. The human civilization is going to die.
Through organic farming, it is possible to feed the hunger of the people. If it was possible in the past, if it is possible today, then would it be possible to change the property relations also by doing the organic cultivation?
I do not agree that people can reclaim their resources from the state. State represents people. So if the present state is not representing the people, people are also differentiated, and the idea is to replace the present state by a state which will represent the 90% marginalized people, and ultimate solution will only come by socialization of property relations and means of production, not equal distribution of individual fraction.
And the main difference is that when you say organic farming, natural farming, it implies that it's only zero chemical farming. That's organic farming, of course, but that's not the entire story. In order to address the ecological sustainability and social equitability and all of this, for that, and also biodiversity, you can also grow genetically modified rice or hybrid rice using cow dung, and you can call it organic farming. That's not ecological farming. So it doesn't actually protect biodiversity. It doesn't protect the biodiversity on farm and off farm. So that's why there's the main thing when we talk of marketing of organic products and all of this. It does not address the ground reality of desiccation of biodiversity and the loss of equity of the lands. We are all discussing about this organic farming even in the policy making, because it is somehow related to marketing question. There was not a single innovation that was made with market in the mind. The thousands of varieties that we have shown, including this triple grain rice, or the rice that contains silver, or the rice that contains so much of vitamins or iron, were never innovated with the market in mind and what price this farmer could be bringing. The market in seeds was brought about only in the beginning of the Green Revolution in 1960s. Until that time, not a single seed of any variety of crop or any species of crop was ever found on the market. It was an open exchange all over the world. Nobody thought of taking a patent or marketing, this biopiracy or all of this. That is very, very recent. That's because marketization and commodification of the genetic material came only after WTO, not even with this Green Revolution. The other thing is that with the organic farming, we give an example of the market. Because of this market, the organic producer might get some kind of premium price, and therefore organic organic farming could increase or might increase. The problem is that organic product is now marketed as a new product. It's a novel product, as I already discussed. It's not a new innovation. It was from the beginning of the day of the agricultural revolution. Now, because that's been made to believe, even the farmers are made to believe that without urea or pesticides you cannot grow anything. Now this organic farming becomes a new innovation or a revolutionary area, and we have to promote it. It has been there all the time. They were growing it without the need of any market premium price, but because to feed themselves, their own families, and to subsist, and also to produce some excess in order to exchange goods, whether it's through the barter economy in the local or through money exchange. Of course there was a market. Of course there is a market even in the remote parts, but it's called the local village markets. When we talk of market, we always assume it's some kind of global market where this some stock exchange in Mumbai or New York will decide the price of this rice. That's not the market we are talking about. I would rather say that this introduction of the market in the seeds was the death knell for biodiversity in crop varieties. Another very important question was that whether this organic farming can change the property relations. I answered to that. Organic farming, just by not putting agrochemicals, it cannot. It's just the method, and that's why I say ecological agriculture. And when we say ecological sustainability, that also includes eco-political question of equitability and justice. And when we say economic justice or social justice, that also includes environmental justice. That we and the future generations have the right to all the environmental services and goods as much as we had.
So capitalism is changing. With that, the top people who are deciding the fate of the world now with this institution or world institution, they are controlling everything. The question is how to combat that control, how to bring back our right which has been snatched, how we can mobilize the forces to bring back those rights which has been every day we are losing. Whether as if we are fighting a losing battle. But actually our purpose is that to combat it, not accept the defeat that we are going to lose. There is a scope is there, majority people are there, and this unsustainable and unequitable, unjust thing cannot sustain for long, because it will antagonize the people, and gradually those antagonistic people will resist. It will develop this. Now our task is how to develop that resistance, how to develop the community to bring certain common point for their survival. But one thing we have to keep in mind, that we have to fight against this onslaught. This onslaught against all these aspects are having one single source. How we will be able to destroy the source? That we have to innovate, and we have to mobilize forces to fight together. We have to fight, we have to win, we have no other alternative.